A few months ago, I was doing a series of videos. Well, this lady, the black woman farmer, she's one of my Facebook friends. She jumped into my inbox and she was talking to me about what's going on with the food supply, the impending food shortages, how the pantries were going to be impacted. She was just letting me know the lay of the land so that I could give that information to you all. She did come onto my page. We had a couple of lives, we had some conversations, and people could ask questions in the comment section. And this was a few months ago. If you're interested to see the videos without having to search, I have a playlist over on my YouTube page. It's right here, Black Woman Farmer Sounds Alarm. You can go find that on my YouTube page. She is a black farmer, and black people, black farmers don't get the same type of support that white farmers do. Let's just be real. But she encountered a situation here recently where her neighbors decided that they were going to be spiteful. So I'm just going to read part of her GoFundMe and then I'm going to attach the voice clips. She says, "Hi, friends. We're a small generational family run homestead that's always believed in hard work, community, and growing with care. We are permaculturalists and believe in making your environment work for you. We are dedicated to growing fresh greens, flavorful herbs, and raising happy, healthy poultry. Farming isn't just our livelihood, it's how we stay connected to the land and give back to our community." Here's the voice notes where she's explaining what happened and how she got to this point of asking for donations.
Hey Ash, it's me again, Black Woman Farmer. So it's been a while since we last spoke, and a lot has happened. During the summer season, when the farmers market is at its peak, I was visited one morning early when I was out getting water for my ducks by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Department of Animal Welfare. Her companion was from manure management. It was a team, and they came to see me because one of my neighbors, or maybe all of them, decided that they were going to file an official complaint against me and my homestead, that I am not properly disposing of my compost and that I am ill-treating my animals. They questioned my permacultural practices, they questioned my knowledge as a farmer, and they questioned how I was properly disposing of my chicken manure. I was humiliated, and I was completely taken aback and totally caught off guard. They made me give them a very detailed explanation, and I had to also put everything in writing, how I was doing my chicken compost, how it was being used, utilized, and what methods I had of using the compost for my vegetable garden. I was shocked at the level of spite and the level of just bitterness that I received from my neighbors. I didn't expect this from them, especially from someone who is growing food, especially from someone that they can get eggs from and they can get some meat from and they can have a salad or a loaf of bread. I never expected them to do this. I was investigated and they wanted to have full access to the property so that they can roam around and try to find something quote unquote wrong with my permacultural practices, but I did not give them access to the property. So I spoke to them at the front gate. I could tell that the gentleman that was with her did not want to be bothered at all by any of this. But he had to do his job and he had to follow through on the report. So when all of this was said and done, it just dawned on me that we live in a world where people are just hateful, just spiteful. I am not a big farm. My homestead is just the right size for my family and I to feed ourselves, and we do a farmer's market, and we do give to friends. I do sell eggs here and there, and we do whatever we have left over from the vegetable garden. I'll either donate it to a food pantry or I'll see if a restaurant in the area wants to purchase what we have. We are not a big commercial farm. We are a small family homestead. What this investigation was, it really took a toll on me and my family, not just like mentally, but physically, because during the investigation, I was not at the farmer's market. and I suffered an incredible loss of income over the following months. So now it's almost October, and the farmers markets, especially up where I live, I'm in the northeastern region. The farmers markets are getting ready to officially close down their summer season right around Halloween, and I'm behind. I am behind on not just like revenue, but I'm behind on getting things that I need to prep my animal houses for the winter. So the reason why I contacted you is because one of my girlfriends told me that I should try a GoFundMe just to see if I could try to recoup some of my financial loss, not not being able to attend the farmers market, being under investigation, having to fill out the paperwork, and basically having to just suffer a loss of revenue just because of these people and them being so spiteful. So I would greatly appreciate if you could just put this out there with my link, and I would be very happy to accept any donation that your congregation has. Something that I would like to reiterate, especially from our first interview that we had together. The Black farming population, we were very strong once upon a time, and then over the years, because of unscrupulous practices and discrimination from the DOA, a lot of us ended up losing farms. We were promised 40 acres and a mule. We never received that. And even though we do have certain bodies out there and certain people out there like John Boyd who are trying to fight for small farms and small homesteads to get proper funding, it's still an uphill battle because the dominant society is still fighting us on getting any type of reparations, any type of monetary compensation. They don't even want us to get equipment. And I'm talking like the most basic equipment, like a rototiller. They don't even want us to get that. So it has been an uphill battle for us to feed ourselves, to be independent, to be self-sufficient, to be self-reliant, and to be able to feed our community.
And with the donations, this is what she plans on doing: obtaining seeds and bulbs for next season, buy soil, mushroom fertilizer, and blood meal, replant our greens and herbs, care for and maintain our tiny poultry operation, buy equipment for our homesteading needs, and to cover any fees to return to the farmers market full time. So, like she said, she's in the northeast of the country. They get actual winters up there. And so she needs to make sure that her chickens are taken care of and ready for the winter and all of that. So I am just putting this out here. If you want to see the playlist where she's talking about the food shortages that are impending and what you can do to ready yourself, and you haven't seen it because you're a new person to the network, please find the playlist over on my YouTube channel. This is real. We're already seeing the white farmers hand wringing because they're not getting their government grants. But black farmers don't get government grants anyway. They need, and that's the reason why she is putting this out here, because these people snatched away her way of making money. So donate if you can. Over on YouTube, the link will be in the description and the link will be in the comment section. I came across this saga a couple of days ago, but I didn't get into it because it's like 3 different posts from this same woman. At first, she says, "Am I overreacting? My boyfriend claims I don't do anything." She's 24, he's 26. So this is the caption. Let's set the scene. She says, "My boyfriend says he's done and might not marry me because he feels like he's doing everything in our relationship. I've been with my boyfriend for almost 3 years. We've talked about marriage and I thought we were both on the same page. But recently he's been saying he's fed up and feels like he's the only one putting effort into the relationship. Last night, we got into a huge fight over text. He told me he feels like he's carrying everything, planning, paying for things, making decisions, basically keeping us together. He accused me of not even wanting to marry him because my actions don't show that I care. I tried to tell him I do want to marry him and that I am trying, but he kept saying it's not enough and that he doesn't know if we even have a future if nothing changes. At one point, he even said maybe this relationship isn't worth it if I can't step up. I honestly feel crushed. I love him and I am trying, but it feels like whatever I do isn't enough for him. He says he's at his breaking point and that he can't keep being the one fighting for us. I don't want to lose him. I don't want this relationship to end, but I also feel like no matter what I say, he won't believe me. What do I do here? How do I prove that I care and want to make this work? Is it already too late? Okay, let's look at the text messages. The dude is in white. He says, I'm done. I'm so done with this. She's like, what? What did I do now? He says, nothing, everything. I'm literally doing everything while you sit there like nothing matters. She's like, that's not true. I do stuff. I help. He says, help? When? Name one thing you did today without me asking. She's like, what? I cleaned the kitchen and I paid the bills too. He says, barely, and only when I reminded you. I'm sick of doing this alone. And she says, so now you're saying I never do anything? He says, I'm saying you don't do enough. If you actually wanted this relationship, if you actually wanted to marry me, you'd put in effort without me chasing you every second. She says, I do want to marry you. Stop saying I don't. He says, then act like it. I'm tired of this. Maybe this isn't even worth it if you can't step up. She says, wow, so you're threatening to leave me because I didn't do everything perfectly? And he says, no, I'm saying I can't do everything alone anymore. I love you, but if nothing changes, I don't see a future. She responds with, I'm trying. You're making it feel impossible. You always tell me I never do anything to help. And when I try to say anything, you say stuff about being the only one making the money as if I don't even work. He says, this part made me laugh. Well, I work 20 plus hours in a week. You barely work 10. He works 20 whole hours plus a week. Ooh. Anyway, she says, that's not true. I work 15 hours in a week with my job, and then I come home and do the chores and make dinner. All you do is come home and sit at the table complaining about how to arrange, it says stop for the wedding, maybe stuff for the wedding. If you don't like it, maybe we never should have decided to have one in the first place. I don't know what you expect me to do. I'm already doing all the housework as well as working a job. And all the money I earn goes towards bills and groceries. And then he says, well, then maybe you should figure something out. All right, so that was the very first post that she made. I'm not going to get into a lot of the comments because she made 2 more posts. So Mission Barracuda says 20 plus hours a week is like 3 days, bro. What is he so tired of? And to that, the OP says, that's what I don't understand either. I work only 5 hours less than him, yet he treats it like twice the amount. And when I first met him, I was working 30 plus hours before he told me, you don't need to work so much, and said he'd be the one taking care of the bills and groceries. Guess that's not the case now. When they say stuff like this, like you don't have to work so much, you don't have to work at all, it's a trap. It's a trap. It's a financial trap. So ladies need to take heed and understand that we see this time and time again. Glacier Girlie says, just leave him. I met my man when he was 28 and I was 33. We both cook and clean and work 40 hours. This summer, he worked 60 hours a week on top of both cooking and cleaning. We also built an entire home. At 26, your boyfriend can Google a damn recipe to fry an egg for himself. Do you like playing his mommy? Dump him. Okay, now, so that is part 1. This is part 2. She says, am I overreacting for thinking my boyfriend is being dramatic? She says, first, he wants to complain about marriage issues and now food issues. Maybe you guys are right. Should I just leave him and kick him out? So she is taking in all of the comments. She's in the comment section, going back and forth. People are really forming a community around this post. Let's look at these text messages. All right, up here he says, that's your problem. And she responds with, I have to get ready to work. Please make sure to eat something because I won't be home until at least 10 p.m. He says, why do you have to work so late? I'm so effing tired already as it is. Why don't you just take today off as well? Then maybe we can sit down and sort this whole wedding stuff out together. I'm not going to work today. I don't feel very good. Why is all we have to eat leftovers? There's literally nothing to eat in the fridge. If you really cared about my appetite, you would have made something for me to eat last night. And he's still going. Whatever. Where do you keep the emergency money? I don't get paid for another month and I need something to eat. So where is it at? Blank, you better effing answer me. You're the one that refused to make me food last night, so you need to tell me where it's at. She says, we have food in the fridge and I'm working. So please don't text me unless it's really necessary. He says, I already said that. There's nothing to eat. She says, there's plenty to eat. Then she says, make yourself something to eat. I'm sorry I fell asleep last night and didn't have time to make you food, but you're 26 years old. You should know how to make your own food. Then he says, you didn't have parents cook for you all the time. How am I supposed to know what to make? You should know how to make food because it's your job. She says, so that's your excuse? I don't care what you say about it not being a man's job to cook food. You should know how to do it because it's a life skill, regardless of who grew up with a live-in chef. The way she's answering with such short responses, you can tell that she is getting irritated with this. She's at work and he is just bombarding her. A couple of the comments. Nope, Ninja Squirrel says, do not marry this guy, swearing at you, saying it's your job to cook for him, unable to make himself a sandwich. So many red flags in a brief text exchange. The entitlement and disrespect this man-child is displaying are staggering. Run from this relationship. He wants a mother and a servant, not a partner. A wife appliance, if you will. Totally Dogsome says this, and do not have unprotected sex with this man. In fact, you should stop having sex with him altogether since he is a child. Omnipotent Swampwater says, I bet an actual baby would be less of a whiner than this guy. And then at the bottom, she says, significantly cuter too. Like I said before, you could tell that she's getting fed up with how short her responses are. So, now we get to part 3. And like I said, that's the reason why I needed to have some time and space to actually do this, because this is a 3-parter in a very short amount of time. She says, am I overreacting? I finally left him. Now he wants to change. As you can see, there are 10 different screenshots. So actually, I think I'm going to end this one and have a part 2 so that this can all be on one because I'm running out of time. So let me go ahead and make this into a part 2. So this is part 2 of this drama that started out, am I overreacting? My boyfriend claims I don't do anything. Now we get to the final scene. Am I overreacting? I finally left him and now he wants to change. Let's get into the screenshots. So we ended the last video where he was like, look, you need to cook. You didn't grow up with a live-in chef. I don't know how to cook. And she's like, regardless of who grew up as a live-in chef or maybe with a live-in chef. And then she says, look, we need to talk. I have a break at 10:30, so you better be here before then. And he says, no, I don't feel good. We can talk when you get home from work. I'm not going to go to your workplace just because you're impatient. She says, I'm not impatient and you're being unreasonable. You don't feel good because you went out drinking last night. He says, as if you wouldn't do the same. She says, I wouldn't. You know I don't like drinking. He says, then what about that? What about the one time? And she says, why do you think I agreed to that one time? And then she says, you better be here. I don't have time to deal with this anymore. And he says, deal with what? I'm the only one dealing with anything. And then she says, there you go again, claiming I do absolutely nothing. I'm starting to wonder why I ever dated you. You treat me nasty. You never listen to me. And then when things don't go your way, you take it out on me. I'm not your mother. I'm not your servant. I'm supposed to be your girlfriend. And if you continue to treat me this way, how can I ever become your wife? How would I raise the kids as well as doing everything for you? Clearly, it's not working. So you can see she is getting fed up. He badgered her down and now she's fed up and you can tell. He says, what are you talking about? It seems like it's working perfectly fine to me. You're taking this too seriously. But just a little while ago, he was saying that he's doing everything. I don't think this is working out. I don't think that, maybe we shouldn't get married. So that's what he was saying just, a few minutes ago. Now that she's like, you know what? You're right. He's like, what? It's working fine. Dang, he has pushed her over the edge. She says, I don't want to marry you. He says, too bad because you already agreed to it. She says, no, I didn't. You never even actually proposed. All you said was, it'd be cool if we got married. Do you actually even love me? And he says, what kind of question is that? Of course I do. Why would I want to get married to you if I did it? She says, I don't know. But put yourself in my shoes. You wouldn't like being treated the way you treat me. He says, I treat you fine. She says, this is exactly why I'm breaking up with you. It should have been done years ago. But of course, I was naive and stupid and told myself it'd get better. Yet 2 years later, you still act the same. I'm going to have to agree with everybody that you will never change. And he says, everybody? Don't tell me you told people. So everybody in this community is like, dump him, dump him. Maybe she shouldn't have said that in text message. She says, I was tired. I needed help. You clearly don't care about our relationship enough. I don't want to be with you anymore. You can leave your key on the table, and I expect you to be gone before the end of the day. He says, WTF? I'm not leaving. This is my house too. She says, I've paid more of the bills in the past year than you have our entire relationship. And my parents bought that apartment for me before I even met you. So legally, you have no right in saying that. I'm done and I want out of this relationship. And he says, hold on. Can't we talk this out? She says, we are. He says, face to face. She says, oh, now you want to talk in person. I can't believe you. I'm done wasting my break trying to talk this out with you. You're an awful, disgusting person. I was too blind to see it, and I'm blocking you. Don't try to contact me again. Have a nice life, and I still expect you to be gone before I'm home tonight. He said, wait, I thought we were going to talk. And now he's like, hello. He calls her name. He says, don't give me the silent treatment again. Please, I promise I'll change. What is it? What is it that I do that bothers you? Question mark. And then it says, you have blocked this contact. Remember early, this is the very first screenshot. We need to talk. I have a break at 10:30. You better be here. He says, no, I don't feel good. So things changed so quickly. She started saying that at 9:17, and then she did waste her whole her whole break text messaging back and forth with this person. And Kimber says, oh my God, you're stronger than me. This is incredible. And to that she says, no. I definitely wouldn't have had the courage to stand up to him or even break up without your guys' help and advice. So that's the reason why I talk about these things. The women that post in these am I the overreacting and am I the a-hole subreddits are simply looking for validation for feeling normal human emotions. And when community comes together and like waving red flags and saying that this is not right, it does give some women some courage, some assertiveness that they might not have had. So this woman was empowered and not beat down, and I'm so glad for her. 8 String Cheese Shred says, I don't have children, but if I ever did have a daughter who was in a relationship with anybody as remotely useless, embarrassing, or disrespectful as this guy, I could only hope that they would be half as firm as you were standing up for yourself like this. You did well. Good job. This comment is from the first post. So Opening Reel says, I'm sorry, are y'all in school 15 to 20 hours a week? And she says, no, he's not. I dropped out of college when I was 20 because of financial and family issues and decided to go back 2 years ago. So not only am I working, but I'm also juggling school, tutoring, and keeping the house running. It's a lot. And honestly, it feels like he doesn't see any of it. And then Frequent Ad says, so you're in school with a part-time job and he's just working 20 hours a week. LOL, do not marry this guy. You'll just be setting yourself up for a divorce. And then at the bottom, that person says, and setting him up to pay alimony. So that's the thing. You see these types of conversations, and this is where community is so important. And what I will continue to say is, young ladies, do not give your 20s to these people. Pour into yourself. Pour into your education and getting to know what you like and dislike. Do not spend your time stressing like this, because that's time wasted, energy wasted that could go into school and figuring out what you want to do for a career and getting your finances together and all of that. All right, y'all. Like I said, this was going to be a 2-parter. I had to have some time and space to do this, but I thought that this was a good one. So go ahead and join the conversation and let me know what you think about this one. I'm a homeschooling mom, and I don't talk a lot about it, but I did make a comment. I made a post about it over on my YouTube page, and I got a couple of questions. So I got this question. It says, longtime viewer here, can you make a video about homeschooling and why you chose to do so? I'm pretty young, still in college with no kids, but I'm curious why you chose to homeschool your children and what the benefits are. I had planned on homeschooling even before I met my husband. I planned on homeschooling because at one point in time I was a high school recruiter for a college, and I would go into the schools, and I blended in quite well because I'm like not even 5'1". So like just walking around, I hear how the students talk, the vulgarity, the cussing and all of this, the sexual language. And it was just so completely different from when I was in high school. Or maybe I don't know. It was just too much for me. And from that point on, I was like, nope, I'm not sending my kids to school like that. And, I know what happens in schools. And these days, it just seems crazier. It's always some kind of, like, there are just things that kids have to deal with these days that we didn't have to deal with back in the day. Mass shooters. There was COVID for a while. And I didn't panic or anything because my children had never been in public schools. So there's just always just something going on. Test scores are low in places. The school system not really doing much. So, what we're benefiting from is that I get to shape curriculum, but that could be a pro or a con because you have to be really about it to create the curriculum and create an experience for your children. You have to be proactive in looking things up. Like Drew asked the question, how exactly does homeschooling work? Asking from another country, do they sit for some exams and all of that kind of stuff? And it depends on the state. But basically, you need to make sure that your children learn the basics so that they can take the GED at the end of their 12 years or whatnot. And so the state will tell you, what do you have to do to hit the specific points that they want kids to learn. So other than that, like I use an online program. My kids are still fairly young, but as they get older, I need to track it a little bit better. But for right now, I have a program and it's teaching them math, English, science, social studies, and that kind of thing. And my kids have a math tutor. So the math tutor is teaching them basic lessons. So that's what we're doing right now. But other homeschooling parents, there's unschooling. So the kids just kind of, I don't really know what unschooling is. But before I signed up for this particular online program, we were doing hooked on phonics, or like when I was back in Illinois, we would just go to the library. Libraries have different resources. So there's all different kinds of ways that people learn or teach their kids. Some people do co-ops where they come together with other homeschooling families. I haven't found a homeschooling co-op just yet out here in Vegas. So right now it's just on me, but not really on me because like I said, we use an online program. So there's just different ways of doing things. You just have to know the requirements or you have to learn the requirements of the particular state that you live in. And like I said, at the end of things, the kids take a test. So that's basically that. And it also depends on if they plan on going to college or not, because my kids speak their minds. They are fairly young, but they'll let me know if they plan on going to college or not. And if they do, then we'll take steps to make sure that we do the college prep and all of that. I am a college educated woman. I did go to traditional high schools a long, long time ago, but my kids are not particularly traditional type of students, and they may or may not decide to go off to college. We shall see. So if they did make the decision to go off to college, then I'll make sure that they are prepped for that. Because these days, college is super duper expensive. This economy is terrible. So if they opt not to go off to school, then that's I just want to make sure that my kids are prepared to go out into the world and live. So if that includes college, cool. If it doesn't include college, cool as well. If you have any other questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section. I know that I don't talk about this in particular, but I'm open to speak on different things. I'm not an expert or anything. My kids are only 8 and 11, so I can't really mess up that bad. And I have absolutely no issues with outsourcing as I can. Like I said, I've already gotten them a math tutor so that we make sure that they're learning the different things that they need to learn. So there's that. All right, y'all. Let me know if you have any other questions.
That comment that he made about me, Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Michelle Obama, that they saw we checked off Black and female and let us in because that is the way that they were going to do their quota, is illogical for a few reasons. Reason number one, there are about 1,200 slots, let's say, in the freshman, in the Ivy League sort of freshman classes, and probably like 10,000 people applying. A lot of those people are Black. How did they actually get down to the ones that they picked? Did they pick us at random? They had to have at least vetted us a little more than that. Number two, to even be willing and have the balls to apply to Harvard, you probably have to have a certain GPA. Mine happened to be 4.2 on a 4.0 scale. So that meant that I had the balls to apply in the first place because I was super performing. We also had to submit our SAT scores. I scored in the 96th percentile on the SATs, meaning that I did better on the SATs than 96% of the people who took the SATs the same year, including the white people. And let's say I got into Harvard just because I was Black. Okay, let's go ahead and give them that. How did I get into Yale? How did I get into Brown? How did I get into University of Denver? How did I get into Vassar? And the last thing I'll say about this, for all of y'all people on Fox that are going to clip this because y'all mad about affirmative action, because yes, I embrace affirmative action because I belonged at Harvard and I was smarter than all the legacies I went to school with, who only were there because they were rich and their parents had a name on one of the buildings and they didn't go to class and I did. So I'm just going to let y'all know that we see affirmative action as these schools searching for people they wouldn't have ordinarily found without deliberately looking for us. They would have just let the same mediocre white men from rich families in.